So Sarah, what makes you feel the most vulnerable?
I feel the most vulnerable when I am in a new place where I don't know a lot of people, and when things having to do with my family or my daughter, where there's so much that I can't control of how she experiences her life.
Sarah Chung Park is, when I first met her, I was a little intimidated because of all the things that she's done in her life. And from a businesswoman to another businesswoman, I was like, damn, she's such a rock star. Like, I'm meeting this woman who
She does seem like a total boss. Like
she's
she gives off
such a
boss
boss
energy.
And then you meet her and she's hilarious.
Almost like not in a negative way, because like I didn't feel this way, but like almost intimidating a little bit, just because like, oh, she's got her shit together.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's what I mean. And to me, if someone says intimidating, I used to take it as an insult.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
take it as
not-
a compliment now.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what I
like,
mean. It's not a
yes.
bad thing. It's like,
Yeah, it's a great thing. It means you
I guess like
enter.
you're kind of like in awe of the person.
Yeah.
Like it's awe.
Yeah.
And it's also, but it's also, I guess when you feel intimidated, maybe that's a little bit of self,
Doubt or
self-doubt.
criticism. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't feel like you are as good and you want to be maybe.
Isn't being intimidated by someone, is that just comparison?
Yeah, probably.
Interesting.
And well, yeah, definitely,
Right,
because
because you feel like you're less than. So why else would
Exactly.
you be intimidated?
so actually
Maybe
intimidation.
there's another angle we're not thinking about, but please
Yeah.
go.
No, that's exactly what it is. I think that is a level of unlocking that self-awareness where you're like, maybe I'm intimidated because I feel like I could do more.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to learn how to shape it in your head.
That's funny
So-
too, because I don't really feel intimidated by that many people anymore. And I feel like maybe the reason that I use that word for her is because she is almost like that corporate CMO that I wanted to become.
Ooh.
That's not who she, like, I don't want to say that's who she is because
Yeah.
she doesn't work for corporate. She has her own business. But like,
Yes.
she's like that boss businesswoman that I foresaw myself becoming. That is not my journey, and I am okay with that.
Yeah.
But like maybe that was like a little like a little,
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Who knows?
But
But she's amazing.
But when she sat on the couch and she did her thing.
So sweet and opened up right away, and I was like, "Oh, love this."
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't really connect with people who aren't like that. And
the
so
second she walked into the door,
she's a comedian.
but
I
I
love
just and oh my gosh, her humor.
her. Her humor is hilarious. And
Just do a little stand up on the side.
that's the thing, right? And when she opened up about that as well,
Yeah.
that for me was like, wow, this woman is so self-aware
Yeah.
that she's comfortable enough to talk about this and identify the fact that the comedy was used as a tool to heal
Yeah.
herself and to heal other people.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely an incredible episode. I think you guys will really enjoy this one.
I think everyone enjoys every episode.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That's a line I say.
That's because we love it so much. Like we
You better
sincerely
enjoy it. I'm just kidding.
enjoy filming this and listening to our guests, and like we are just honestly shook by the fact that all of these incredible people are willing to come on. Like I
We're
don't want to
lucky.
call it imposter syndrome because it's not. I'm just honored, I guess, that like people are willing to come on and share their story with us. And so to me, it's so meaningful. So I'm like, how could someone not enjoy this?
Yeah.
But I hope that it resonates with some of you, and I hope that it really hits. All right. Well, we'll see you at the end.
Zero energy today.
She's lots going on with her wedding planning and
Yeah. My decor lady has gone MIA.
like for all of her,
fucking
and not just
Saturday,
decor, like her like tables.
look at her face.
What do you mean?
Like,
All you can do is laugh.
all you can do is laugh, honestly,
Because
because
otherwise-
This is when you need a reality TV show.
yeah, that's what I
Like,
was
you
saying.
need
I'm
it
like,
right now when all
My-
like shit's hitting the fan.
that's why we're recording all of it. But then it's also like mid tears where I'm like, and I just don't want to deal with that right now. But I'm really excited to have you here because I have been dying to have you on this podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here.
Getting to do this like honestly re-energizes us too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Every time we're like, oh, I'm so tired, or like this is happening, and then we sit down with someone that we admire, that we want to learn from, that we want to have a conversation with, and by the end we're like, oh, I feel better.
That's
Just-
awesome.
We're lucky to be able to do this.
When I first had lunch with Sarah, I didn't know what to expect, right? Because to me, I was like, oh, she
Sarah
must be
Zarel.
No, Sarah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm also
Different
Sarah.
Yeah. We
She's
were
like,
talking about
oh,
Sarah
I know.
Zarel.
In her, she's like competition mode, right?
Yeah,
Who
because I'm
was
like,
the best?
I'm gonna be the best Sarah, obviously.
I knew
obviously.
exactly what
Yes,
you were thinking.
yes.
So I had lunch with her. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. Because obviously, when you meet someone new for the first time, you're always
Yeah.
like, and instantly we were like, blah, 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 blah. Fell in love with her.
Yes.
Can you just tell
Same.
our audience a little bit about you and what you do and who you are and why you're so fab?
Oh, sure. First of all, I think I'm very funny.
Yeah, you really are.
No, so my name is Sarah Chung Park. I recently went through a lot of legal paperwork to change it, so I have to have all the full name. I own a business called Landing International, and we help brands expand to global markets. So, been doing this for about 10 years. We like to think of ourselves as storytellers and sales builders. But really, at the moment, we're championing the second wave of K-beauty. So lots to talk about there. Feel like my life has come full circle because we launched K-beauty in the States back, I guess it was just about like 9 years ago.
Wow.
And
And what an explosion.
what an explosion. And it's like, in terms of like business foresight, like I have none. I remember someone came to me. Oh, it was Alicia from Peach and Lily when she first had the idea to do like a K-beauty site.
What's her last name?
Alicia Yoon.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it might be this other Alicia.
And
Sometimes
funny
this
enough,
world
she
is
went
small.
to the same high school I did, but she
Oh,
was much
see,
younger
this
than
world
me.
is small.
Yeah, so she was much smaller than me, younger than me, and so she found me at an event, and she was like, "Sarah, I want to tell you about this new business that I'm doing." And then I actually looked her up later because I was like, I don't recognize her at all. And then she was so like, like in the yearbook, she was like middle school, I think, when I was a senior. So she's like, oh, we're gonna do this, K-beauty site. And her and her partner at the time, Cindy. And I was like, K-beauty, I don't get it. Why does it have to have its own thing? Meanwhile, like, fast forward 2 years, I was like, it's all about K-beauty.
Yeah.
And then we launched some of the biggest like K-beauty brands in retail, like CosRX. You guys got some samples today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much
Such
for
a
that
great
bag.
brand.
It's a great
I'm
brand.
shook.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, we launched about like over 100 K-beauty brands into retail, and then probably an additional like 80 non-Korean. We launched the first Thai beauty brand at Ulta, the first Indie beauty brand.
Oh,
we did a
cool.
ton around Black-owned beauty, Latinx beauty, LGBTQ beauty. And then about like 10 months ago, retailers were coming back and saying, hey, we want to relaunch K-beauty. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then when I wasn't paying attention, it had completely exploded on TikTok.
Oh my gosh.
And so I feel like I've been playing catch up, but
Yeah.
I feel like when people come to me about like a business idea, and I'm always like, you can have the best idea you want, but the market will tell you what they want your business to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like that sort of happened for my business this year.
That's awesome.
They're directing you and
It's
you're
directing-
listening.
Yes. And that's what I think I do. I think I listen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I listen to the universe and I try to see, okay, where is this going? Because I think someone has said this and it's so wise. It's much easier to ride a wave than to like paddle against it. And so I just try to like go where the doors are opening, not
Yeah.
where like I gotta jimmy something.
I really like
I
that.
like that description a lot. It's like
Yeah.
that flow state that you can jump into and things just kind of land in your lap that way
Yes,
versus
because
trying so hard.
yeah, and I think it's about like for me. I mean, I have met people like they're like forces of nature, and they will bend the universe to their will. And I don't feel like I'm that. I'm like I just have to see where things are going and where I feel like I'm being guided.
But that's
really
so
like that.
intuitive. Like that's amazing.
And it's
to be
clearly
that
worked
in
for
tune.
you.
Yeah.
You've built this incredible business, Landing International. Tell us more about like how you started it.
How I started landing. So I've been in the beauty industry for a long time, always on the back, like behind the scenes. So I think I started, I want to say as early as 2004.
Okay.
And what my business was then was I had a consultancy and I wrote business plans
Okay.
for beauty brands who wanted to expand into like a
That's
CVS
a great
or
way to get
Target.
started.
Yeah. So I actually know I know a lot about the beauty business, but I don't really know that much about having a brand because it's always been someone else's brand. So I did that for almost 10 years. I wrote a ton of business plans. And even to this day, I just got a sample from somebody from a cosmetic manufacturer that I did the business plan for.
Oh wow.
So I was like, oh my gosh, it's just like always, I'm like, it reminds me how long I've been in the space. And then one of my early clients was AmorePacific. So they were a big company in Korea, but they were like didn't have anything in the U.S. really yet, and because the company used to be called Amore, and then they created a line called AmorePacific for the U.S. market, which then they adopted as the corporate name.
Okay.
So I was a consultant for them for 5 years to understand the U.S. market, and then other than that, I really didn't work with any other K-beauty brands. And then I started a business helping my U.S. brands expand in Asia.
Oh,
so then I was like
cool. Yeah.
helping them like find distributors, and in like writing reports about, oh, this is the dynamics of each market. Then the first idea for landing was actually, I want to create a Match.com between American brands and U.S. Overseas distributors, because everything was like, and still kind of the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Where like, what is like standard terms? Like what are
Right.
like, there's no transparency in like who you should talk to.
Yeah.
So that I had the first idea to do that for landing. I developed the platform. I launched it at Cosmoprof 2015. Well, I thought
She's
so at
a
the
boss
time.
bitch.
I thought so at the time. And
She's
then
a
I
funny
launched
boss bitch.
and then in 2015, I took it to Cosmoprof, and I had like a bunch of meetings set up, and everyone's like, this is a really good idea. But there was like not that much excitement around it. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of like, the market tells you, because distributor deals, if you think about it, it takes a long time. It takes 6 to 9
takes
months
forever.
to find. Then it's like I'm basically like a matchmaker, and I'm trying to help people get married, which kind of makes my service like unnecessary. So it takes like 6 to 9 months to find a distributor. Then it probably takes another 9 to 12 months to actually be in market. Wow, yeah. So then it's just a long sales cycle where there's like a lot of activity but nothing to show.
Yeah.
And some of my friends on the investor community were like, it's hard because as a U.S. investor, we want to see results in the U.S. For example, you should bring K-beauty to the U.S. Everyone's talking about it. And I was like, I don't know anything about K-beauty. And this is crazy. So I had this conversation with an investor that you should use this platform and try to get K-beauty into like Sephora or Ulta. And then I responded, I don't know anything about K-beauty. Just because I'm Korean, it doesn't mean,
of course.
we're all like tapped in there. And then I got an email from the former president of AmorePacific in North America, and he's like, I'm in LA, do you want to have lunch? And I was like, what do you think about K-beauty brands? Do you think there's like enough of them? He was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like I've been out of the game for 5 years, and I'm constantly being reached out to about launching, how to launch, because anyone under like an LG or an AmorePacific doesn't have the resources and the connections to do anything in the US. So that happened. And then I got an email from an old high school friend who was like, hey, I know I haven't talked to you like in 15 years, but I actually have this e-com site, and we sell like 900 K-beauty brands, and I wonder if there's a partnership there.
Wow.
That's so universal.
Okay.
That was like in like
You're like, okay, this is meant for me.
And then I had a meeting in San Francisco with an accelerator program called Spark Labs, and I was actually applying for their global fund. And Bernard, the partner, was like, I don't think you're right for this fund, but what about our accelerator program in Korea? But your business has to be related to Korea.
Okay.
So it just felt like, okay,
Yeah.
the universe, again, telling me something, let's listen. So I actually completely redid the platform in, I believe it was 4 weeks. I applied to the accelerator program.
Wow.
I did my demo day in June 2016, and then that was it. That was how landing was born.
Wow.
Yeah. So in a way, was I smart? I'm not sure. I think I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go with where I feel like opportunities are happening.
Very intuitive. Like
Yeah.
I just, like you said, you just wait for like a door to open.
Yeah.
And then you kind of peek inside and you're like, oh, this is gonna work. I mean, that's incredible.
What were you like at that time though? Was it like were you in a positive mindset? Were you stressed? Were you challenged? Were you like, because it seems like you were just flowing, like, yeah, this was amazing.
Oh no,
No?
So
Tell
the
me
funny
everything.
thing is, when people say, there's like a saying, people don't change, and I'm like, I absolutely do not believe that at all, because I'm almost a completely different person.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So when I was in college, I took a public speaking class, and I was so nervous that I could not even look up. You know those people who make you feel uncomfortable because they're so
I was like
uncomfortable?
that in middle school, and look at me now.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I used to like sweat and have like huge pits, turn bright red.
Yes, exactly.
I
So
feel you, girl.
I was like looking down and I couldn't make, and I felt like my face was burning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the time when I started landing, I had just moved to LA.
Okay.
And the partnership before that I had distributing products overseas, like kind of was not in a great place. And I had actually, before starting that business, applied to law school and gotten in
Okay.
to Georgetown. And so
my
I was
gosh.
thinking,
Okay.
Smarty.
So I started that business in between. And then I was
Wow.
thinking, then it wasn't like fully working out, but then I had this idea for landing. And so I deferred a year. But I felt at the time, number one, I was in my mid 30s, not married, no
Okay.
kids, no property, just like floating around life.
Wow.
And,
So
living
inspiring.
in like a, studio apartment in Hollywood. And I remember I just didn't know the path forward because I never had a business of the scale before. I never, like worked cross border. And I think the idea of having a partner at the time was very comforting to me. And the fact that I wouldn't have a partner and I was going on this like solo was very nerve-wracking. And I remember I had all of these like affirmations posted up all over my apartment.
I love that.
And just like all of the things, okay? Like
Yeah.
be the change.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
I just imagined like a wall of post-it
Yeah.
yes. But they were like everywhere. They were
Yeah.
like in my bathroom, there were this. And
I
then
love that.
and just like and like prayers just for like courage. Because I think at the time I feel like I was almost like paralyzed with fear, where I don't think I was making I was over analyzing.
Yeah.
I was overthinking, and I was just not able to like make progress. And in a way, I think getting into that accelerator program, going to Korea, being in a completely different environment by myself, and just cold calling brands. Like I cold called CosRX. I think it kind of helped take me out of my shell. And then every day I've just been just working, just building, because like my therapist in New York used to say, don't think about the result. You're too focused on the result. Think about the work and think about like what you have to do. Just focus on the work.
Be present.
One step at a
Yes.
time. Yeah.
But I never knew what that meant until that
I had to learn that too.
yes. And so now I'm almost like, people think I'm a little bit like diabolical because they're like, aren't you worried about this? Aren't you worried about it? I'm not worried about it, but I think we need to focus on what we need to do.
Yeah.
Right
Because
now.
we can't control
Yeah.
what might happen.
Yeah.
I would like want to stand up and applause for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because it's so true, and it's so easy to get stuck in your thought cycle and just go
Yes.
over
Yeah.
and over.
Yeah.
And by the time you spend all of that energy and time
Yes.
doing that, you haven't done anything to
Yeah.
actually move forward.
And that was me. I feel like there were
crippling.
times
I
where
can't imagine that being you, by the way.
But and it's weird now because I wasn't even like paying attention to the last 10 years where there has been a lot of change, but now it's like my brain has been rewired.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I am a different person, because
That's
before
awesome.
I used to overanalyze, overthink. I remember when I was like in my 20s and I wanted to like have this business, and I always had like big ambitions, like write on my goals list. I'm like, I'm going to write a book by the time I'm 27. But I would get so paralyzed that I would like nap all day.
Really?
Yes, I would come home
That
and
is
nap.
not what I can ever see you doing right now.
Yeah. And like now
You're just
it's-
go.
Yes. But I think that's why I feel, like, so I'm 47,
Wow.
and I think a lot about not death, but just, okay, this is not the final chapter.
Okay.
But it's like, I'm never going to be young again. Like the
we don't
youth
go
of the 20s and 30s. And I'm like, I wish that I had all this knowledge that I have now in my
Yeah.
20s, because I just feel like in my 20s, I was a very, very immature 20, all of 20s, probably into like early 30s. And so I'm like, wow, I wasted so much time, like
Yeah.
not fully like, engaging in life, because I was so like in my own head. And I wish I knew then what I know now.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. I was talking about this, I think, at dinner the other night with some friends, and I'm just like, I am so excited to get older.
Yeah.
Like our society,
Yeah.
it makes us think, especially for women, the beauty standard and aging and all of that. I'm like, screw that.
Yeah.
My 20s were so hard. The older I get, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
The more myself I feel,
Yeah.
the more confident
Yeah.
I feel, the more present I am, and that I enjoy the journey versus like focused on the goal. I resonate so much with what you're saying, and it gives me a lot of hope too, because like I'm still kind of in the thick of it, but like pushing through it.
Yeah.
And we really need to, I think, reframe that in the world so people realize how exciting it is to get older.
Yeah.
What are some of the tips that you would give people based on what you wish you learned?
Oh.
What would you tell your younger self?
Yes,
I guess?
exactly. It's the same.
I think, and people, this has been said many times, it's like people just aren't thinking about you as much as you are thinking
Oh
about
my gosh,
yourself.
1000, yeah.
And so just stop thinking about what they're thinking about you.
Yeah.
That I feel like was a big thing. And the other thing is,
So true.
I think now what I think is sort of like my secret power is I can go into a situation and like understand, okay, what is the value I can bring to this
Yeah.
situation, and kind of like pull the dots together. And I think, and that's what I would call like the work, right? So stop thinking about how am I being perceived or like how am
Yeah.
I coming off, and really thinking about, okay, what value can I add? And then I think the other thing is like, so I'm an immigrant, I came here. We immigrated when I was 7, and then we repatriated, I guess, back to Korea. Then I came here for college, and so I really resonate, and I've said this before, with like outsiders, because like I didn't have like a community here, I didn't have like a network, I didn't have friends of my parents or grandparents who like introduced me or taught me anything about anything.
Yeah.
And I think now that I've been in like, in the beauty industry for like 20 years, where it does come back, all of the relationships that you've built, and
Yeah.
there's no substitute for that except time. And so I think that's the other thing that I would say to my younger self is like, really just invest time in the people that you want to support, that you want to grow with, because life is long. And, I know all those people like from when I first started out. And so I think really building relationships, that it takes time, but that it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it
that.
sounds lonely too, like coming out here and not having that community or that network
yeah.
and those connections. And probably it was potentially a part of the overthinking, because you don't have like
yeah.
outlets
Yeah.
and relationships to like communicate and brainstorm and
Yes.
things like that. Because I would self-isolate a lot when I was like struggling with my mental health and it got really bad. Kind of like when you said your naps, I really
Yeah.
resonate. Like you just need to
Yeah.
disembody and
Yes.
shut down
Yeah.
and shut this off. And I think when you don't socialize or have that outlet, you get more internal, and it just
Yeah.
keeps spinning through more and more and more. So it just helps saying things out loud. We
Yeah.
all learn that in our relationships too. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, it helps to say how we're feeling, even if our feeling like doesn't seem valid or it seems stupid or
Yeah.
it's not right. Like sometimes it's okay just to say it out loud. And if you don't have a community that you trust,
Yeah.
then that's all like literally locked up in your brain.
Yeah.
Like you're a prisoner of your own mind oftentimes.
Yes. Prisoner for sure.
Yeah.
And I think looking back, I don't think I had a good like a model or like a blueprint that I could like see in my life to be like, oh, whereas like now, I'm like part of these different networks, and I'm like, oh, I see, for example, like I can see, oh, this could be me in 2 steps forward, or this, this person is like me, like, a little while ago or something like
Yeah.
that. But I had no
Yeah.
frame of reference for that.
Wow.
Yeah. What
you
did
know?
yesterday we were interviewing Nikki. She's the founder of CL Cosmetics.
Yes.
And prior to that, Rowan Beauty, and she was saying, and it's a term I've heard before too, expanders in your life, people that you look at and you're like, oh, like I could be like that,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
expand your mind, and you
Yeah.
can kind of like visualize it for yourself and manifest based off of their experience. It's kind of cool.
And I think for me, it's become kind of important to be that for other people, because I
Yeah.
really didn't have that.
Yeah, and that's why you've built all these amazing
sure you're
communities
that.
and moving to Voices and of Beauty.
Yeah.
Is that how it started? Like you wanted to be able to support entrepreneurs, I'm guessing.
It started originally because I didn't like, so we had this mobile app, Beauty Fluent, and we're connecting with brands, and our vision was to elevate all of the diverse owned brands that have a harder time communicating with the general, consumer audience. But what ended up happening is I felt very much like we were salespeople, and we were like, hey, talk with us so we can sell you something. And where I saw like the most success is like, where we knew the management team or we knew the brand founders and we could communicate authentically, like, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. And it really helped like creating better content, creating better messaging. And so first I wanted to create a forum where we could get to know more brands.
Yeah.
So that was like the initial thought. But this thought of adding the boot camp is I hated, and I still hate, when you go to a conference and you pay your hard-earned money and you feel, number one, not seen, not welcome. No one cares if you're there, and almost feels like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And I felt like, okay, number one, I want everyone to feel that they're welcome, that they're seen, that they're valued. Because you're the consummate party thrower. I'm like, if I throw a party, I'm gonna welcome you in.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not gonna be like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And then I think the boot camp came because we thought, all right, let's make sure that the brand founders don't get lost in all of this.
Yeah.
How do we give them something a little bit extra? And I love that we did that because actually most people remember that day, day one, which was actually like a much smaller event.
It was really nice.
Yeah. And so that's the rewarding part where being a brand founder is isolating, being an entrepreneur is isolating, and on every level. Like, I think that's like the common thread, like whether you're at the top of a Fortune 500 company or you're just starting out, in your basement, it's lonely because you're and so that's kind of how it came about. But,
and that's the Voices of Beauty is like the umbrella over all of that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then we had this, and you were there, the AAPI dinner.
Yes.
And I just, was talking to Julie from T3.
Julie's the founder of T3, who I'm dying to have
T3.
on.
Yeah.
She's wonderful. And I'm using her tools every single day.
I love it.
I talk about it everywhere.
Yeah.
People in Dubai and India, everywhere, they're like waiting for her product.
I've used her tool so much on Sephora's YouTube. I don't know how we haven't met her.
I know.
So I'm really
She's
looking forward
awesome.
to
Yeah,
it.
you need to have her on. Her story is so interesting as well. But so she had this event. She was kind enough to invite me, and she had invited a couple people that she met through the API, and then she shared some stories about how like we're creating these shortcuts. Because like, for example, she was, had some questions about a potential business decision, and she was able to reach out to somebody that she met at the API, and because there was like just like a sense of familiarity and like trust that they answered her very honestly, and she's like, it saved me so much time.
That's so awesome.
And so I love that, being, as you know, like the consummate outsider, that I can make connections for people.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, again, obsessed with like my age currently, because I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna work. Most of my working life is probably behind me. Like, I'm not gonna work another 25 years. I hope not.
Yeah,
Right, I see
that's
what you're
great.
saying.
What a good
Right?
feeling.
I hope not.
As an entrepreneur, I just have like, yes, such a good feeling to be like, I'm done.
Yeah, well,
But not done.
Yeah,
But
and
over
it's like
half.
You're
Yeah.
chill.
yeah, over half for sure. And it's like, what do I leave behind? Like, I still remember every kindness that's like people showed me, like someone who was like, who took a coffee with me that didn't need to, someone who gave me like a piece of advice that like they didn't need to. So I just want to, like give back a little bit in that way. And I think connection, it feels good for me. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a super connector. You always end up connecting everyone around you, which is so nice.
Yeah. But like not on purpose. Yeah.
But that it comes naturally to you. I love it. And were you always funny, or was this like a recent thing?
Oh, thank you for asking.
Does everyone else think you're funny?
Okay, not my husband. He's always like, you're not that funny.
Would you ever consider stand up?
No, it's not.
You're not that funny.
Yeah, I'm not that kind of funny. I'm like a situational funny. And also, sometimes I crack jokes, but people don't laugh. And then I'm like, whoa. It's like, I'm not for everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I
on
know.
stage, you're cracking jokes left, right, and center, and everyone is laughing all the time. And you wouldn't expect, she's like coming on to like introduce everyone for Voices of Beauty. And just like everyone is cracking up in the room because she's hilarious.
Thank
I
you.
wonder if that comes from, the point where you were moving back and forth. Well, not back and forth, but you were raised here, moved back to Korea, and then came back
Yes,
here, and
yeah.
you didn't really have a community. Like now, what you've built with, especially with Voices of Beauty, and even the platforms prior for brands, it's like you're kind of just opening your arms and trying to make everyone else feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
your humor also is like such a beautiful way of doing that. Because when someone gets on stage, I just hosted Sephora's holiday press event in New York City, and I introduced our executives, and I was like, I want to do a formal introduction. You know, there are executives. I want to be really like buttoned up. So I do. And then one of them comes on stage, Carolyn. She's amazing. She's our vice president of merchandising. And she just is hilarious. And she looks around. She's like, this is a sexy room. And I'm just like, yes. And it makes people feel at ease. And it was a good like kind of aha for me. I'm like, you can be buttoned up and like throw in a little, because people just kind of settle in, you know? And it seems like you've kind of become an expert at that. And maybe in part because that's not what you had.
Yes. And no, I think that's exactly right, because I think it was like two things. One, I went to 13 different schools growing up, so I was always the new
13?
kid. Yes,
Wow,
we counted it one
wow.
time. This is what I had to talk a lot about in therapy. But so I was always like the person who didn't know people, always the person who had to like, make a good impression. And so I think humor probably came as like a defense mechanism for that. And then I would say even at home, like when my parents would fight or it would be tense, like I was always kind of like the clown that would be like dun 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 dun, like, and I remember I think I was in my 30s, and I made this like conscious decision. I'm like, I'm not going to do it anymore, because I always felt like I was using humor to deflect the tension at home with my parents. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let it be uncomfortable.
Right.
And
oh my God, that's so hard though.
Yeah.
For your whole life doing that. And then I'm sure your parents too were like, what's happening?
Yes. But, and actually, I think my relationship with my dad kind of suffered because of it. But I'm like, I just feel like it became almost sad. Like
It
I'd be
shouldn't
like,
be your responsibility,
right, exactly.
especially as a child.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that's something like on the the sort of like developmental side that I realized. I'm like, oh, I'm just doing this so that everyone else will feel more comfortable. But it's actually like doesn't do anything for me. And
but maybe healing a little bit.
Yeah.
Wait, so how many kids do you have?
I just have one.
Okay, 3-year-old.
Yes.
And how's that?
How is it? I mean, it's the best thing.
Wait, you had a 3-year-old. Wow. When did you?
Yes. So
wow. Yes. I want to hear about this.
Yeah.
3. Okay. So you were 40.
I was 44.
44.
Yeah. So I started the IVF process when I was, well, it takes a long time to do all the things.
Yeah, of
but
course.
like really in earnest, probably like 42.
That is so awesome, because I love hearing that, because everyone's like, oh, you're 34. You need to have kids now. You have to, like, literally, I'm getting married in 3 days, 4 days, whatever. And everyone has been like, okay, you got to hurry up. You got to hurry up. You're going to have kids. And this is like an Asian thing.
Yes.
In Hong Kong, I think 80 people were like, no, come on. How can you get married at the end of next year? What about babies? I'm like, I will be fine. So this is really nice to hear.
Well, I mean, I same, because I remember at 35, like not being married, I was like, okay, my life is over. I'll never have kids. I'll never do this. Because, starting 35, I think is geriatric pregnancy, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think about one, if you look at every element of our lives, we're already defying the odds, right? Like the number, like first of all, living in America, being where we live, like we're only like a small percentage of the population. Like I heard something like, I don't know, in Los Angeles as a female founder, like only, I don't know, like 1% of like funding goes to female founders or in businesses that last more than 5 years. So I feel like statistics don't mean anything, because if I had started out and been like, okay, well, there's a 95% chance I'm not going to get.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually at 44, you have a less than 1% chance to have a successful live birth.
Oh.
And I did. So I'm super thankful for that. But I know people who got married in their 20s and they couldn't have a baby, and then I know people who, accidentally got knocked up like at 50. So I feel like
At 50.
yeah,
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I know. I mean, I don't think I'm that lucky. I did IVF with my daughter, so I don't think I'm that fertile. But how is it? I said to somebody recently who's also just having a child older, I'm like, you cannot imagine how much fun it is.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Like I always thought, God, so much work.
Yeah.
Why do people do it? They look
That's
miserable
what
all the time.
That's
Yeah.
me.
Also, and then parents always complain, and I complain all the time too. And you're like, oh, why are you doing it? But actually, it's like, okay, do you guys have pets?
Yes. Can't you hear him?
Yeah, Ty's been barking a little bit. He just wants to be part of the party.
Yeah.
Why am
He's very cute when he makes his appearance.
Do you remember? Did you get them as puppies?
It was Akash's, yeah.
Kittens.
But he's,
I have 3 cats. I got him as kittens.
Okay, and then do you remember the day after you got them and waking up and being like, oh my gosh, I have like a puppy or a kitten, and like that like sense
They're
of
the best
I
excitement.
had that
my
with my
life.
hamster. Does it count?
Yes, that counts too. That
My
counts
hamster was
too.
called Oopsie, if anyone. I was living in Hong Kong, okay?
Yeah, and he was just.
He was, yeah, but I was
just on the
obsessed with
wheel?
him.
Okay.
I woke up and I was like, my hamster.
Yes, it's
Okay.
pure joy.
It's joy. Okay, so it's like that. Having a kid is like that feeling, but times 10 because I mean, with pets, for the most part, it's pretty. It stays kind of the same, similar.
They can't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't talk. But then your kids, they start growing and talking and thinking and doing things, and so they'll say like the nicest things to you, and they'll say the meanest things to you, they'll say the funniest things to you, and it's just a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
so I would say, you know, my husband and I, we love going to places now because of her. Because
Oh, that's so
everything,
cute.
she sees everything for the first time, and everything is fun. And so we're like, yeah,
That is something that I kind of crave about it.
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like almost like a fresh take on life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, is it tiring? Sure. And you know, she's a teenager right now. She gives me a lot of attitude.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
She's your daughter.
Three-nager? So we said three-nager?
Yes,
I
it's-
haven't heard that.
You never
That's
heard
funny.
that?
Yeah,
It's cute.
Yeah.
she's got quite a bit of attitude. Like for example, so we have cats too, and I think I yelled at my cat PM because she was doing something naughty, and I said, PM, get down from the table. And my daughter Harley goes, don't yell at my cat. And I said, well, but I
She
had the
loves your
cat-
daughter
yeah,
already?
Yeah, she's like, don't yell at my cat. And I said to her, well, I can yell at her because she's actually my cat because I had her before I had Harley. So then I walk away thinking, yes, I bested her. And she comes back. She's like, she's our cat.
Oh, that's so cute.
And I don't know. It was just so funny.
I
And I was
love
like,
that.
well, yeah, you're right.
Do you think though that it's fun because I have a lot of of friends that have kids
Yeah.
in their 30s
Yeah.
and they're still building their businesses. Do
Yeah.
you think it's fun because you had her at a time where you've already sorted yourself out in business, things are going smoothly, or
Okay, first of all, I do not feel like I've sorted myself out or that things are going smooth.
I
I'm
think
always
so.
like,
Okay, so
no.
tell us some of the challenges then.
Oh my gosh, I there's a quote from this person. I always keep forgetting. They're like, no matter how beautiful a business looks on the outside, every entrepreneur thinks it's like a dumpster fire that's going to go out of business any minute. That's how I feel. I'm like, oh my god, I guess this might be the last time I have a business, and then I don't know, what do I know how to do? Like,
Yeah.
maybe I will pursue stand up. I'm not sure, but no, every
Yeah.
CEO feels that way.
Yeah.
And also, it's like I would say the other through line is people issues because, okay, to be honest, no one is happy with their jobs, right? Because it's and I think because in general, not everybody's happy with their life, and like work feels like a lot of it. Work feels like something you have to do that you don't want to do, but you need to do because of the money. And then a lot of that times it's directed at like management and the owner. And so I think a lot of the emotional stuff comes from people issues. So that's
It's a
difficult.
lot.
Yeah.
It's really hard to manage
yeah.
people around you, whether it's
Yes.
warehousing or whatever. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard.
Warehouse
I
staff.
feel like so much of our emotional trauma or past experiences that like we need to heal comes through in our career, and we've for a long time underestimated how important those relationships are, because like you find a partner, like you get married, it's obvious, like there's childhood stuff that comes
Yeah.
up, you get triggered, people say you kind of choose someone that's like your parent, and you work through that and you heal that together, hopefully, or even in friendships. And I think more and more I've been hearing and seeing people recognize how much of that happens in the workplace. For me
Interesting.
personally, I was so anti-confrontational and very scared of confrontation, and I found my power in that in work, and then it translated to my personal life. And I thought that was so interesting. And as a leader, you think about how much of that is going on and you're managing these people. This is happening for all of them. And so it's not just business. It can't be.
Yeah.
And I think the best leaders are the ones that can recognize that and look at their employees as like humans. And I've been lucky enough to have that at Sephora in some places. And I see my growth in my work before I see it in my personal. And I think that happens for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think though what is challenging for me is, as an entrepreneur, you have an idea and you're like, okay, I have an idea. I think I have the resources to like get the idea up and going. But no one tells you at some point you're gonna be like HR. Like I don't want to be HR. I don't know anything about HR.
That's not your expertise.
Yes, but we spend a lot of time talking about policies and about like in like issues like inner like different between employees and then like that. And I'm like, I don't think anyone told me when I had this idea for a business that like, okay, if you're successful in your business, basically you're gonna end up being HR.
You end up being everything too.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
so many other things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
that's
many
a really
people
good point.
are on your team?
Now I think we're about with fractional about I want to say 25.
Wow. That's a lot to handle, but it's great.
Yeah, we actually shrank a bit because of the different like things that were changing in the business. But I think at one point we were like close to 40, and that was a lot. I felt like
That's a lot.
It's actually hard to move
Yeah.
when it's like 40 people and you don't know who they all are. And
Goodness. Yeah.
yeah. So we're kind of retrenching on that front.
And what are you focusing on right now? Because there's so many things that you guys are doing, but is there a specific focus?
We're focused right now. So we wanted to, okay, so I'm the sort of like through line with everything is inclusivity and accessibility and what I said at Voices of Beauty of making everyone feel that they're seen and included in what we consider to be beautiful. And so with K-Beauty, it's really interesting because K-Beauty attracts a very small sliver of the consumer demographic, which tends to be East Asians. But I don't think K-Beauty is, addressing the Black consumer, the Hispanic consumer, even within Asians, like Indians, Filipinos.
Well, actually, it's doing really well in India now.
I know.
But it's because they want the brightening stuff,
Yes,
right? So
yeah.
it works for the India market.
Yeah.
But I don't know about here with the,
So
the other
that's
consumers.
interesting because so many brands are actually in India, but like they don't speak or they don't. I think the U.S. market is so diverse that it's hard for them to like understand. So like you can see it in imagery, like it's constantly like a 20-year-old, like very pale, perfect skin, who is relating to that,
Yeah.
And even I published a report about the second wave of K-Beauty, and I'm doing a Korea version of it. And in the Korea version, I talk a lot about the diversity.
Okay.
So, for example, like the LGBTQ community, there's more people who identify as LGBTQ plus than there are Asians. But we don't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm like,
Wow,
okay,
I didn't even
you
know
have
that.
to have, like, if people are like, oh, we need a Chinese strategy, we need like a Southeast Asian strategy. I'm like, well, you need to also consider this, huge demographic. So we're doing that for a lot of the brands that we're helping launch next year. Of like, how do you look at your audience and make sure that you're talking to all of the people that you should be talking to? And then we're doing a huge K-Beauty World City Tour where we're going to.
How cool.
Wow.
Yes. How cool in theory, but like so stressful
How
right
stressful.
now, right? Yeah.
She's like,
I want to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the fabricators are like, can you tell us what brands so we could like, build the mock-ups around it? I'm like, okay, but the brands are asking like, can we see like the, the build outs? So it's going to be 5 cities and 3 of them are going to be embedded within existing show. So we're going to do Coachella,
Oh,
South by
cool.
Southwest, Lollapalooza, and then we're going to bookmark, we're going to do Century City. So you can be there March 1st. And then I think we'll do New York in May.
Okay.
And then we'll see if we'll add like additional dates. But I think it'll be fun because kind of, I don't know, for me, I think K-Beauty obviously is very popular on TikTok. But there's still a bit like, oh, it's so out there that it's interesting. But it really, there's huge fans of K-pop and K-drama and like, Parasite won the Oscar. But there hasn't been like this cohesiveness and like, hey, like Korean beauty is not something that's other. it's something that like you would enjoy, that it's fun.
Right.
And so we want to create those kind of experiences and places that people feel comfortable in or like that are used to going. Yeah.
So what are these experiences going to be like? Are you allowed to say?
Okay, I can say it. I mean, so we're actually recreating a Korean convenience store. So you know
Oh my
Korean
gosh,
that's
convenience
so
store?
cool.
How cool.
Yeah. So
Okay, cool.
Because Korean convenience stores, it's not like a 7-Eleven. Like everyone goes there and you'll buy anything there. You'll buy your dinner there. It's
Oh,
fine.
really?
Yes. And there's all this like you can.
I don't
eat-
think I've been to
It's
one
like New
then.
York bodega kind of culture, a
yes,
little bit.
yes. And if you look at any K drama, they're always like outside, like drinking, you know, and like getting there. People always meet outside. It's in like every neighborhood, and so we're gonna recreate that because it's
Nice.
it's fun, it's bright. It's kind of like the vibe of like maybe like more of like a Target where it's a little bit not. It's like a little bit interesting. You can find cool stuff. But it has like the footprint of like a 7-Eleven.
Cool.
So
Very cool.
that's the theme.
So you're going to serve food as well, or that people can buy food and buy beauty stuff?
Okay, great question. We're gonna have probably like the setup will be like a convenience store. So like
Okay.
each area, like maybe like the refrigerated area and the snack
Okay.
area, the ramen area is different brands.
Oh,
and then you'll
cool.
check out and you'll get like receipts and stuff. But
I know.
I think we'll have to have like the food on the periphery, and it'll depend on the location. So it looks
Okay.
like Century City, we're gonna have a lot of space. So
Okay.
I imagine we'll do food and drink because people love. Did you have banana milk?
Yes, it was an Asian thing, Hong Kong thing. Yeah, everyone loves that
Everyone
in Hong
loves
Kong.
that. So I'm like, we definitely need to have banana milk. And then Korea has like a lot of yummy snacks.
Yeah.
And you can unite people over snacks.
Oh, for sure. I remember in growing up in Hong Kong, high school, I was friends with all the Korean kids. And they would all bring their mom's sushi that they would roll
Yeah.
up. And it was like, can I have one? I'll be your best friend. That was the line. So we would all hang out, and I would hang out with all the Korean friends because I didn't want to eat my Indian food or whatever I had. I was like, I want to eat the Korean food. And we would swap. And it was such a cute thing. So I feel like, yeah, that would be a really nice way to just bring everyone
Yeah.
together. And
Absolutely.
yeah, cute.
I love the idea of food.
Yeah.
Of bringing people together.
Yeah.
And then now I know you like sushi rolls.
I
Korean sushi
love Korean sushi rolls.
Yeah.
I love Korean everything, actually. Like Korean barbecue and karaoke at the same
You
time.
brought me to Korean barbecue.
You did
on one of our
barbecue
first
and
dates.
karaoke at the same
Yes.
time.
Oh my goodness.
Like
what?
You're just, like,
in Hong
getting down
Kong.
on like a.
I mean, eating and then you're just like, okay.
Yeah. I feel
Okay.
like that needs to open here. Well, they have it here as well.
No,
I
you
went with
don't.
Will. I went to a Korean,
Okay.
a karaoke bar.
Yeah, bar,
Yeah.
but not eat.
And then
not
you,
like,
they serve you
oh
Korean
yeah,
food
yeah.
too.
But it's like
It's
snacks.
not barbecue,
Yeah,
but but I
Barbecue's
feel like you
intense.
should have a barbecue session where you can do karaoke.
Is Will a good singer?
He's a phenomenal
Oh my
singer.
gosh.
Will is our friend that we met. That I met through you actually at Voices of Beauty when I was speaking, and he's got this company called Major Asians, Major Futures.
Yes, Major Futures,
Major
and then
Futures.
Major Asian is a division under there.
And it's a branding agency, and we connected really like.
But they
we
like
became
hit
like
it up,
besties.
yes, because he was like in Atlanta, and Brian told me, my husband, he's like, oh, Will's in Atlanta.
No, in Arizona.
Arizona. Oh, I don't know what.
It was
an A.
he was judging. No, he was doing this 5th grade
I
competition
remember.
for underprivileged kids, and so he recommended me to do the judge the show. And so I went, and then we ended up having a
Yes.
rager. We went
I
partying. We
remember
had so much
that.
fun.
You seemed like you had such a good
Yeah,
time.
he's just such a good vibe. And he came up to me because when I was giving the speech at Voices of Beauty, or when I was on the talk, when I was on the panel, he came up to me after and he's like, dude, you're like actually Major Asian. And I said, yeah, because I'm from Hong Kong. I speak
Yeah.
Tagalog. I speak Cantonese. I'm Indian. And he's like, my company is called Major Asian. We need to hang out. I was like, yeah, let's speak. And then we just like became friends. And now he hangs out with all my friends. I'm surprised
Love
you have.
that.
Oh yeah, because you haven't been here yet. But
Yeah.
you'll meet him.
Nashville.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, why were we talking about this? Major Asians,
I was
banana
talking about
milk,
Will.
karaoke.
Karaoke, yes, yes. Okay, well, I love
Yeah.
karaoke. I love to dance, but I am not a good singer.
I'm a horrible
I'm
singer.
half tone deaf, but I can do the tambourine, double tambourine.
The tambourine. I love that. Okay, so back to what you're doing. Is there any advice that you can give people who are brands that want to get into retailers? Because I know that's something you really help people with, but also Korean brands, K beauty into the U.S. market.
Yeah.
How are you helping them?
My advice is, I think I love to make dating analogies, as you know. I think it's like courting a retailer is kind of like courting a partner because you have to bring a lot of things to the table. And I think most brands think if only this guy would choose me or if this girl would choose me, then my future would be set. But it's actually about what are you bringing to them as well. And people maybe won't say that, but definitely they're looking for, okay, what is the white space that you fill with your products, but also are you bringing a certain kind of customer that they want and they need? Are you going to help build their social presence? Are you going to increase their share of voice? And I think it's better to go into the conversation knowing here's what I can bring to you, said retailer. And
That's smart.
it's a two-way street. It's not like just pick me.
Yeah.
I'll do the best. I'll be like your best,
Yeah.
Yeah,
girlfriend
exactly.
you ever
It's like,
had or
what can you
boyfriend.
bring?
Yeah.
I like that. Good advice.
I started my career at Sephora in makeup merchandising, so on the buying team. And as you were saying that, I was like, yes, that sounds like Allison Hahn, at the time was our VP, and now she oversees a little bit more even. But yeah, it's what space you can fill, and it's a two-way street.
Yeah. And I think actually Sephora is really good about saying, well, this is what I want in a partner.
Good.
And I think other retailers are not.
Okay.
And so it's better for the brand to know to be more
A little direct.
about
Okay.
it. Yeah.
That's really good advice.
Same thing in a relationship.
yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
be direct about what you want, right?
Like, here's my non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Here's what
Yeah.
So that's the advice I would have for any brand. And for Korean brands in general, I think, and people are starting to do it, like one of our partner brands, Bierma, they did this great partnership with Cardi B. And I was like, that's a really great choice. And she genuinely loved the product and wanted to talk about it.
Awesome.
Which is very important.
Yes. And it's just like expand the horizon, not just, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but like the same formula, which is like get like a K-pop star or a K-drama person to like be their face. But I'm like, you need to be more relatable to people and you need to like meet them where they are, And so that's sort of like the work that we're doing with them in terms of like storytelling, like how does this brand, because skin concerns appear differently on different skin tones. At different ages have different needs that could be served by the same product, but you need to talk to it. It's not like for every skin, it'll be good,
Yeah.
So I think it's about connecting the dots for people. And so that's the work that we're doing with K-beauty brands. And I think I'm very bullish about the beauty industry in general. I think there's constantly new innovations, like even like componentry.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, this is so cute. Like, oh, we haven't seen this before. And the overnight mask that's like so viral. Like that's a new technology that really didn't exist. And so I'm like, okay, we're still innovating. It's not the same stuff. And I think like sort of like a jaded person would be like, isn't it the same thing in the bottle? Like we're just using over it. And it's not. It's not. It's actually new technology, new ingredients, new formulas,
That's awesome.
new components.
Just education is so important.
Yeah.
Like as a beauty director, that's what we do for our brands at Sephora.
Yeah.
And I get the opportunity to meet with all the founders and we do trainings one-on-one with the beauty directors. So we have the context and the behind the scenes stories beyond like the marketing material that lands on the P page, right? It's like, what is the actual juiciness behind it all? And how can we get very specific about education for the client by client?
Yeah.
It's not just like you said, like this product's going to work for everyone. Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, it might be true, but you kind of have to draw out for each individual or each category, like how it impacts them.
Do you find sometimes that like the brand sometimes doesn't know what the best selling points are?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I've noticed
But
that.
I think that's what's so cool about like the brand retailer relationship is like, when I was in makeup merchandising at Sephora, we would say we would be sitting in the kitchen with the brands. And it's like as they're formulating their products, we're sitting there and we're brainstorming. And I think the retailer has a completely different context than the brand does. And same with the brand. And you bring both of those together. And oftentimes you kind of fill in the blanks for one another. But I think the retailer tends to have more of those marketing points because they have a wider breadth of experience and context with, the brands they already have, and they know their clients, but the brand also knows their clients. So it's how you can kind of blend them both together.
Interesting.
But I do think that's kind of common.
And another dating analogy, it's like, when you're introducing your friend to your friend, sometimes you can see the things like, I'm like, you should play up these things. Like, these are the things that are really good about you.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, really? Am I? Yeah. So I kind of think of it that way, that sometimes it requires like a little bit of perspective.
I love the relationship analogies.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a relationship, but
Yeah.
it's very helpful to kind of wrap your head around, especially for if someone's listening hasn't had experience in that world.
Yeah. Because everyone has dated.
Exactly.
I
I was just going to say,
yeah.
every single person will relate to that and be like, oh, yeah, that's when I
Yeah.
did this, and makes sense. I love this.
So special.
Yeah.
Like, the work that you're doing is inspiring, and also I just love that it's community building. It's like you're like, bossy, getting work done, but you're also very conscious of relationship building and like I was talking about, kind of people's personal growth through it as well.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah. And I think it's been sometimes you're just so busy working, you don't even know that time is flying by.
Of course.
When I first had the idea for landing, I was like in my mid 30s, and now just thinking about, because I think women don't mentor as often as men, because it's a part of like, oh, like, should I be, or like, you don't want to.
Is it like imposter syndrome, do you think? Or you
I
don't
think
feel
it's
like you're
for
good enough, or
me,
what?
No, I think I'm good enough.
No, okay, I know you know this.
yeah.
You should know this at this point.
No, it's for me. It's like, being a mentor is like, you have to be invited, and so I feel like you have to know the person enough to like add value again. Just because you're a mentor, it doesn't, But I think because for me, I didn't have the modeling. Like, I never had like a mentor,
Right.
So I didn't know, how do you even like start a mentor relationship?
Yeah.
Trial and error, right?
Yeah. And then I had this one person. I remember. So I was interviewing attorneys, and through my deal with Spark Labs, like, they set me up with like the best technology attorneys. And then there was like a couple that I interviewed, and it was a woman, and she was older, and she said, I'm sorry, she won't listen to this because I don't know her name. But she said to me, she's like, oh, I'll be like your older sister. And I was like, I literally just met you. I'm like, it's very presumptuous to think that like I want you to be my older sister.
Oh, I so agree with that.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels icky.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't want to. And I'm like,
That's a red flag.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I would rather be taken seriously by a white man than to be, like
You're right. As a mentor, you need to be
yeah,
invited.
yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more.
So I want to be invited, So I think I try to open the doors for and I think I have like two that I have mentored, but I take my mentorship very seriously, as I'll tell you.
Okay.
It's more structured. So I'll say, oh, you have to meet with you like once.
Oh,
once
that's
a month
good.
for 12
That's
months.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's amazing.
Actually, one of them, they didn't invite me. I just imposed myself.
But sometimes
But
that works too.
sometimes you need
if
to
there's like
as
a
well.
comfortability
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I'm like, will
already.
you meet with me once a month for
But
2 hours?
some people are also shy to ask. I remember when I used to be shy to ask for mentors. I would be
Yeah.
like, "Why?"
Oh,
They would be like, "No, I'm too busy for you, bitch."
Yeah.
Or that's what I would think. But
Yeah. But then
when I
meanwhile, they were
started to
like,
ask people, they were just like, "Yeah, of course I'd love to, but not as a regular mentor." I feel like
Yeah.
there are people in my life now that are constantly like Tony Casandrinos. He's the founder of that olive oil over there. Olive oil balsamic. He's
Yeah.
one of the best. He's like my D2C guru. He's phenomenal.
I've heard you talk about
And
him.
the way I met him at my entrepreneur group, it's this baby bathwater group. It's a very funny name. But it's like top of the line entrepreneurs. They're so successful. They've all scaled and sold their businesses. And Tony has been he's made such a big impact in my life, and he doesn't even know it. He's taken 2 hours of his life to do Zoom calls with me and show me how we can do affiliate marketing, how we can do giveaways, how we can do, like, he's just such a good human because he genuinely cares about seeing the success of another entrepreneur. So for me,
That's amazing.
when he did that for me, I was like, wow, I believe in mentors and I know that they're there for you. So shout out to Tony. I love you.
Where can everyone find you and follow the work that you're doing?
Oh, okay. My Instagram is Sarah Has Landed. Please follow me because it'll be Natasha, my mom, my cat, and my daughter.
I love
I'll
it.
follow me. Yeah.
And if you want an awesome mentor, please reach out to her.
Yes.
As if you have so much time.
because you have to be invited.
You have to be invited.
It's
so
a mutual agreement.
And then my company is landinginternational.com. And I'm on LinkedIn, Sarah Chung Park. Yeah, I think those are the best ways.
Amazing.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This
Thank
was
you
so much
for-
fun.
As we said, she's hilarious.
She's so funny.
She's a boss. She's inspiring. She's
Yeah.
everything.
She's everything. She's cool. She's a mom. And she tells
Really
you.
is. Like, I'm like, how do you have time,
Yeah.
woman?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
And she's built this incredible empire and she's making shit happen. And she's changing the game of K-beauty,
Yeah.
right?
I thought it was so cool. Obviously, the second wave of K-beauty that she was talking about, I think she said second wave, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. Second wave of K-beauty. But also, not only is she a game changer with K-beauty, like she's a game changer with how brands interact with retailers and building those relationships and creating those connections and
Yeah.
facilitating and mentoring brands in a way that had never really existed before. Like, what do they call that? Early adopter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my business degree at work, people.
Well, you know what? For me, coming from Asia and understanding exactly what she was saying, like, in Korea, for example, they don't really cater to a wide audience range.
Right.
They do, like skincare even is just like, oh, for whitening and brightening and lightening and lightening. And I grew up in that world.
When I went to Asia for the first time and I saw the lightening skin products, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was like 21, 22 or something.
Yeah, and it's my grandmother. If I would come back home with a tan, she would say straight up, "Oh my God, you got so dark. Why do you look so ugly?" And as a child, I'd be like, "What? I like my tan, And
This is so ridiculous. It's obviously frustrating.
It is.
And I hate that you went through that.
I hate that too, but also I'm so proud because now when I, for example, went to India and I did a masterclass, I was in shock with the amount of people that used a shade concealer number 2 of mine when they were actually a 5 or a 6. And in the masterclasses itself, I would be like, guys, let me show you what it looks like on someone who's wearing a number 2 when their color, it's not even like, I get it. You want to be a different skin tone, right? I can't change your perspective and your perception of how you think things should be. But I can show you that that is not the right way to do it because
Right.
it's not going to cover, you're not going to use the makeup in the way that you should use
Yeah.
it. So I actually was so proud when I showed them. I'm like, look, this is a 5 on her. And they were like,
It looks
you're
amazing.
right. I'm not a 2 and it's not wrong. I'm like, yeah.
They've just been marketed this for
Exactly.
so long. I mean,
So being a voice.
yeah, but it's the
Is
same.
amazing.
Like, I feel far more confident in a bikini with a tan than without. And so, I don't know. Fuck beauty standards.
Fuck beauty standards.
That's what I'm educated enough to say is fuck
I like
beauty
that.
standards.
And I really like how Sarah is basically saying, let's educate
Yeah.
the Asian consumers or the Asian manufacturers on how to adapt to a different consumer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
I
make
love
some
it.
change.
Let us know what you thought of this episode. We'll definitely have more
I
business
never know
women.
what to say at the end.
Yeah.
Like right here, I'm just like, see you next time. Bye.
See you. Wouldn't want to be ya.
Peace out.
I want to go have fun on Christmas now.
Okay, bye.
Bye.